Master John Hackleman. Finally get him on the program. It's been actually it's been a while. I've been trying to get him on for a while, but as soon as I got his phone number, it happened in 30 seconds. I was like, "Hey, you want to come on?" He's like, "Yes, when?" I was like, "Okay, this is great. All right, this works out nice." It helps that I had Court McGee's phone number. I was able to get a hold of you right away. Obviously, I'm in Hawaii right now. I've been out here working for the last year or so on Hawaii 5-0. I forgot you're actually from Hawaii. You're right up the street. And you still do all of your black belt testing here. You make everybody come in and test once a year, and they have to do it here in Hawaii?
Yeah, they do it there in Hawaii. It's not like I make them. They love it. And I mean, it's the roots. You know, I always, you know, our shirts are, you know, one of our shirts we wear over there, Howley Pride Hawaiian Roots. You know, I grew up there as a little skinny white kid with long blonde hair, and I got picked on a lot, especially when I was younger. And then I moved away from Hawaii after the Army, and I had bad feelings. Like, I always resented Hawaii because I thought, you know, I don't think they treated me good over there, and you know, it's why I became a fighter, and I always seemed to have a chip on my shoulder. And but I don't know, just a couple of years after that, going back now as a different person, I started realizing, you know, just it is what it is, and I started falling in love with Hawaii again. So I brought Chuck over there years ago, like in the 90s, and he fell in love with Hawaii too. He goes over there all the time. And it's part of my roots, you know. So, you know, I understand the situations over there, and I understood, you know, why there was feelings about, you know, different people. So I love it. It's my home, and without it, I would never be who I am. I probably would have been probably some wimpy something, a registered nurse, male nurse somewhere, who couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. So I don't know. I love Hawaii. I love being from there. I love my roots. I love watching Max Holloway fight last weekend and pointing to the ground saying, "Let's fucking bang." And it just reminded me it brought back so many old feelings. And so anyway, I have nothing but love for Hawaii now.
It's funny because we're, you know, now that I'm here, and you realize that Pidgin is actually a completely different language. Like it really is a different language. Like you come in and you start trying to talk to some of these guys, some of these fighters especially coming over from the West Side. It took me, when I first showed up at Gracie Technics with Yancey, with Russell Doan, with Max Holloway and the rest of the crew, they would sit there and talk, and they were like, "Oh, you don't talk much during training." I'm like, "No, I talk a lot. I talk a lot all the time. I don't know what the hell you're saying. I'm so confused what's going on right now." It took me about 3 months to get my head wrapped around it. So when Max did that and said, "Hey, you want bang?" I was like, I could hear him in my head. I heard exactly what he was saying and was pointing at, "Oh, this is going to be really, really good, or it's going to be ugly as hell. Let's see what happens." And they just started throwing. It was great.
Well, that's why it was such a beautiful moment and such an epic moment, is because it was kind of like not Floyd Mayweather. It was kind of like what's his name, when he fought Julio Cesar Chavez, and he was winning 11 of the 12 rounds, and he went out and tried to knock out Cesar the last round and got knocked out. Meldrick Taylor. Max was winning big. I mean, he was winning all two rounds, and then he was winning huge in the last round. But those last 10 seconds, he was willing to put everything on the line just to say, "Let's bang now, bro. You can knock me out." If you knocked him out, he would have won. He would have lost the fight. So he was willing to put it on the line, and that's what a guy like Max is. You know, that's how they are. And as for Pidgin, my dad was a journalist. My dad we moved over there when I was like 4 years old. We moved over there because my dad got a job at the Honolulu Star Bulletin, which is now the Star Advertiser, and he got a job to be a sports editor of the paper there. So my dad was very grammar conscious. He went to West Point. He graduated from and then he graduated from Columbia, and even though my teachers would be like, I mean, full on Pidgin, my pediatrician I could barely understand, but my dad, I couldn't, and a lot of white guys, a lot of foreigners, when they come over there, they start picking up Pidgin to become part of the, to be part of it. But if I talked like that, my dad would kill me. So we had to speak like perfect English. And when sometimes in class, I kind of like raise my hand and go, can you speak like regular English so I can understand you? And everybody would just give me dagger eyes, like, you fucking howdy, go back to the mainland, So
it's funny. Like, people that don't live here don't get it. Like, they don't understand. Like, there are times when I'm talking with people and they will speak Pidgin, but they expect me to answer back in good English. So if I start answering back in Pidgin, they start giving me bad luck. So of course my Pidgin sucks. It makes it even worse. But they're like, look, dude, you just moved here. Like, stop it. Like, right now all we need you to do is understand us, and we understand you. That's all we need right now. We don't need you to like be one of us. Just enjoy being who you are, and just be able to understand us. So it's like, you got to watch it, man. Sometimes you got to be real cautious. And it's weird because I didn't learn about the history of Hawaii until I started coming over here to fight for T.J. Thompson. When I fought Miller and Robbie Lawler, like, I didn't really understand that this territory was taken by force. Our Navy showed up in the harbor and told the Queen, you either give us the ability to take you over, or we're just going to start bombarding you. Good luck, and see what happens. And the Queen was like, I got to save my people. Yes, here, take it over. So it was taken by violent overthrow. So this whole island, and for a long time, they tried to push the Hawaiian language, the Hawaiian people off the map, and only allow basically the mainlanders come here and take over. So it's still embedded. It's still crazy how people think at it and look at it. But it's not as bad as it was.
You think? You think?
Yeah. What you went through was horrific. Like, what you went through going through was
70s, the early 70s in Kamiki. Yeah. With long blonde hair.
You would get it. Were you literally? Were there times where you coming home from school? You were like, I'm going to get beat up today. Like, I'm going to get attacked. Like, 100%, I'm getting beat up on my way home.
There's a couple things. Number one, when I was in sixth grade, my grade school wasn't that bad, but I knew my intermediate school, Kamiki, was going to be hell. I knew it in sixth grade. That's when I started training in sixth grade. I went in the phone book. I found in the yellow pages, and I found a martial arts gym because I knew come seventh grade, I better learn how to fight, because I heard about Kill Howley Day, and I heard what they do to Howleys, and I hate Howleys. So I started training like out of fear. And when I went to Kamiki Intermediate, obviously it was exaggerated, but if I could count how many times I was called a fucking Howley to go back to the mainland, I would probably be living in Beverly Hills right now. Or fucking Howley, give me your lunch money. Fucking Howley, what you looking at? Fucking Howley, you like beef? I mean, I've heard those things so many times. It's not even funny. But there were times when I'd see just walking somewhere and just see a bunch of people look at me and go, oh shit, here it goes. Or like Samoans, as soon as I hear him say, like, I'd hear like someone say, Palungi, and I know that's what white person is. I'd always think, oh shit, let me cross the street here. But it was what it was, and I got really tough really quick. And when I showed that I could fight and I would fight, I had my thing happen in seventh grade. I got into this big brawl with this guy. I beat him up basically, and from then on, I was never picked on again, and I kind of was the big shot of the school and the tough guy. And then my martial arts instructor was a Kaja Kempo, which is a martial art that was created in Hawaii in 1947. Ka-Ju Kempo, karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, Kempo, and boxing, and it was created so these 5 local guys could beat up the white military guys in the 40s. There were so many military guys there. So they started this system called Kaja Kempo, and that's what I got my belt in. And my instructor, Walter Godin, who was in and out of prison, and he was just a complete badass, but a criminal too. But he was so good to me, and he trained me. He took me under his wing, and he mentored me, and he made me tough, and he was one of my main role models growing up until he passed away in 2001. But it made me tougher. And so when I went to school as an 8th grader, oh, forget it. I already been training with Godin for 2 years, and there was nobody at my school that was going to pick on me after me training with a guy like Godin. And so to be honest, from like 7th or 8th grade, I love my life in Hawaii, and I get treated with nothing but respect because the locals respect being tough more than they respect money, more than they respect brains, more than they respect social status. They respect toughness, and me being tough, I got to walk around like looking at locals, saying, "What are you looking at?" And I had a friend in Palolo Housing, Adam Kaivi, who's still a really, really good friend of mine. He's had his issues in and out of prison, but me and him been friends since I was 14 years old. And he was telling Heather, my wife, when we went back last year, he goes, "Yeah, Kill Holiday. John used to have Kill Local Day." But that's the exaggeration. I would just eye up everybody and try to, because I don't. In Hawaii, it's eye contact is very, very means a lot more, even more than here in the mainland. I mean, if you don't look down when a local looks at you, it's "What the fuck are you looking at, Holly?" They call it stink eye and this and that. So you were taught early to look, don't ever, avert your gaze when a local looks at you. But by the time I was like in 8th grade, I was like giving everybody looks, and it was kind of uncomfortable for people I was with. But I told myself, I'm not gonna look away. I'm not gonna look away. So I'm not gonna be a punk. So it kind of it grew me up. It raised me in a different way, and now I look back at it and think I love all of it, and I love locals. I love Hawaii. I love the culture. Haole pride, Hawaiian roots. That's all I can say.
You don't look white.
I came over as a fighter, right?
Yeah.
So I fought first. I was just here fighting, and then we'd go back to mainland. Then come back over and fight again and go back to mainland. Then when I moved over here, it was specifically to work on Hawaii 5-0, which is like the major show on the island, and everybody loves it because it represents Hawaii. So it was like I had I fought. Now I'm doing stunt work for this particular show. They're like, "Oh, this is great." And then I realized it's because I don't look white. I thought it was all these other things, and basically what it comes out to is like, hey, you just don't look white. Like that's why you're kind of getting away with a lot more than other people. Because I'm still, even though I don't compete anymore, I don't train like I do anymore. I still have that fighter mentality. That straight back, you walk into a crowd like you don't. I'm not trying to take over the room, but I'm confident when I walk in the room. And if somebody's looking at me, I'm gonna look right back at them. If they crack a smile, I'm gonna crack a smile back. But if they want to have beef, then I can have beef. It's not a problem. Like I can go either way you want to go with this. So like my experience has been a little bit different when I try to explain to other people that moved here. It's like, well, plus it's not the 70s anymore.
Yeah, it's not the 70s, and I'm not an 8-year-old kid with long blonde hair. And don't say you want. How did you just say it? The beef. Don't say you want the beef. Just say want beef. You like beef. Yeah. Because you could grow, you could come over there as even when we were kids, you could have come over for a week, and I could have lived there for 20 years, but you'd be accepted more than I would have because you have darker skin. So I mean, I would be fighting at Blaisdell, which used to be the HIC. That's where I won the Golden Gloves. And when I boxed there, I was from there. I was representing Palolo Gym. Hello. But if I fought a black Marine, they'd be rooting for him. Kill the Howley, kill the Howley. It's like, wait a second, guys. I'm from here, you fuckers. But it is. It's yeah, I would say kill the Howley when I was fighting before Hawaii, representing Hawaii. It's like, wait a second, guys. Oh my God. But I get, I get it, and I'm now at this stage. I just love Hawaii, and I love the culture. I love being from there, and I loved everything I went through. Now I look back at it with nothing but just gratitude that I got to grow up, and I'm not a little fucking bitch punk like a lot of guys are. And to me, I got some of that from Hawaii. I got some of that from Walter Godin. But I look at, to me, like one of our sayings at our gym: better a tough gay guy than a wimpy straight guy. You know, and there's nothing worse than a fucking bitchy male. It's like I can't. And there's so many of them. We've pussified the American male in our country, and there's so many fucking pussies out there that it just I can't stand it. I can't stand when guys are such bitches. And I think growing up in Hawaii, you're not gonna grow up a bitch. You know, it's like I was telling my wife yesterday. There's some tough little wannabe kids at our high school, Arroyo Grande High School. It's like there's no such thing as a tough wannabe tough guy in Hawaii. You're either tough or you don't act tough. Because if you act tough and you're not, they see right through you real quick when they punch you in the face. They don't play like they do here. It's a different culture. You can't be a wannabe tough guy. You're either tough or you're not. You're not going to act tough if you're not. And a guy like me or a guy like you, people love guys like you because you don't act tough, but you are. And people love people like you who are well spoken and have a really fun sense of humor. And you're not scared to walk up to anyone and just say, "Hey, what's up, bro? How you been?" And you don't even have to know him. You know, I'll walk up to the biggest Samoan I see now, and I'll just walk up to them. "Whoa, you're one big fucking Samoan, bro." You know, but we have no fear because we're fighters, but we have so much confidence. We don't have to play the tough guy. We can be the goof, you know.
Like when I first met Kelly Slater here, I was actually at Brock Little's friend's house. We were over hanging out after Brock Little had passed, and it was one of those situations where I'm like, that's Kelly Slater. Like he's like a surfing god. Like and he's not a big guy. He's a little skinny surfer guy, but he's like a known guy around there. And I had never met him before. I walked right up to him. I was like, "Hey, Kelly, Frank Trigg. Like, I'm a big fan of yours." And then we started talking, and it was like it was one of those situations where because I walked. It was like I was the only guy that wasn't from North Shore that walked in there. Everybody else was born and raised and lived in North Shore, grew up with Brock and Clark Little. They knew, everyone knew Kerry Atwood. Like, everyone knew everybody else. I was the only guy that nobody knew. Like, I was the only guy that walked, and I walked right in, saw Kelly, walked right up to him first before I said hi to anybody else, and was like, "Hey," and then after that, it was like, everyone else was like, "Oh, he must be okay because Kelly's talking to him." And that's just how it works, and that's how it goes, because I had that confidence of like, "Hey, I want to say hi to this guy because I'm a fan of his. What's the worst that can happen? He could knock me out, which has happened on TV in front of millions of people. He could choke me out, which has happened on TV in front of millions of people. So it's like, I'm in a group of like 50 people. This is easy for me. Who cares? It's not an arena. I'm not inside of a cage. I'm okay. I can make this thing happen." So it's fine. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, 90% of us are just goofy, fun guys, and you go to the UFC, you don't see a bunch of wannabe tough guys like some sports. You see a bunch of fun-loving guys that have fun, and there's no. I don't know. I mean, I get crazy when I talk about martial artists because I love it so much.
I actually stalk all your social networking. So I saw that photo today you posted of I think it was today. I saw it today. I think you posted today Muhammad Ali and your dad when your dad was interviewing him when he was here in Hawaii. That's a great photo. But then you start thinking about like you were raised in Hawaii in that kind of situation where, like you said earlier, your dad's a journalist. He moves over here. I actually live next door to the old Hawaii Star Advertiser building on
so
South
the
Street.
Colombian was right there. We used to eat there almost every night.
Yeah, I live. There's a brand new building. I live right next door to it. Like I literally look out my lanai over here to my left, and I can see the old Hawaii Advertiser building sitting right there. So it's incredible living in this little space. But then you start thinking about your upbringing. You're explaining like, hey, this is the reason why I started training was not get beat up, and then this is what I do now. You had one of the most amazing fight teams in the beginning of mixed martial arts. Like the Pit was like the spot to be. Even before Miltich, like even before then, it was the Pit. Then obviously Chuck was the most famous guy that comes out of there. And it seems like to me, as of lately, other than Court McGee coming out of Utah and fighting at Pit Elevated and coming into you for training camps, it doesn't seem like you're really doing that much in mixed martial arts.
Nah. Okay, first of all, I've been fighting since 74. That's when I had my first organized fight. So I've been either been sitting in stools getting water from someone else, or giving someone water in between rounds since 1974. And when Chuck, when I wasn't really that into it to do it anymore. I just wanted to be a martial arts instructor. Then Chuck came to me. He was one of my martial arts students. He wasn't a fighter when he first came to me. We met because we had a fight. It wasn't a mixed martial arts fight. It was a fight. We got into a fight, and it was a challenge, and we fought, me and Chuck. And he became one of my students after that. With a belt and a gi and everything, like I'm wearing right now, my gi pants. I always wear my gi pants. But then he came to me and he said, I want to fight. I was like, bro, I've had so many fights. I'm so tired. I'm so burnt out on fighting and the fight game. He's like, well, I really want to try it, and I could really use your help, and da-da-da. Okay. So, okay, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to work with you guys. But then when you're done, man, I'm done too. I don't want to be stuck being a freaking fight trainer my whole life. Okay. So Chuck starts, and next thing you know, it's Chuck, and you saw what happened with that road. And then while there was Chuck coming up, we got some more people on board, like Glover, because we fell in love with Glover when he fought one of our guys. And then, there was some other guys, Lighty and some other guys along the way. And then the reason Court came in is because Chuck did The Ultimate Fighter, and he asked me to go on with him, and we fell in love with Court, and we asked him to come on the team. And then I told these guys, when Chuck retired, I want out of this game, because I'm a basket case. When I go to a fight, I'm a basket case. I mean, they're calming me down in the corner. They're calming me down in the dressing room. I am not good in a corner or a dressing room because I'm a basket case. I'm so nervous. So when I told Chuck, when you're done, bro, I'm done. You got to take over the team. He goes, all right, I will. I promise. Yeah, right. That never happened. Chuck became Chuck, and now Chuck is Chuck still, and he's not doing the team. So I started whittling down my team and telling people I'm not doing that anymore. So when people were calling me, asking me to come on the team, I said I don't have a team anymore. But I still had Court. Glover's, still he's in Connecticut now. I'm still working with him some. So I'm kind of just focusing on my martial arts gym. I want to make kids and adults confident, strong, and safe on the street, and to have a good life. And if I work with a fighter, I'm going to work with Sean Jordan a little bit, just for a couple weeks to help him for his next fight. I'm going to do that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to ever have a team again and throw myself into that traveling and leaving my home and leaving my pets, leaving my wife all the time. So I'm kind of a part-time trainer now. I'll help people work on certain stuff. Some of my strengths I'll help them with, but I'm focusing on my gym and training my students.
And that's the smart space. Like, that's the space where you can actually make some money. I mean, not everyone has a Chuck. Not everybody gets a John Jones. Not everybody gets, a Chris Weidman, someone that can go through and make a lot of money and be able to pay back to their trainers. Most MMA fighters don't make enough money to make it worth your while. In reality, it's a passion. It's a love. So when your passion and love is gone, being in that corner, it's time to move on.
It was time. And I never thought of money ever, because my first 8 years or so with Chuck, I was paying money. I was actually losing money because I would take off work for a weekend and go work his corner in Bakersfield or Fresno or LA or Vegas. And he wasn't making any money. He was an amateur. Then when he was a pro, he's making $150. So I was taking off work. I'm a registered nurse making a lot of money. And I would have to take 3-4 days off work to work his corner. And so it was never a money thing for me. It was a hobby. And then it was a passion that I wanted people to realize their dreams. And then when Chuck did, unlike most fighters or people in general who make it, they forget where they came from. They forget the little guy. Well, when Chuck started making it, and they were trying to pull him away from the pit, he goes, John's got me this far. Why would I leave? And they were like, well, you can't get anywhere with the pit. You're not going to make it. If you stay at the pit, it's too small of a gym. And, John's the only trainer. You're not going to make it there. And Chuck was like, well, he's got me this far, and I'm going to stick with him. So I'll roll the dice and see where it ends up. Well, guess what? He won a couple more fights, then he won a couple more. Then next thing you know, he's Chuck. And did he look at me and go, well, I made it now, so see you later? No. He he took really good care of me, and he stayed loyal and faithful, and still is to this day. And he never forgot where he came from, and I don't forget what he did for me. So to me, it was like I pulled him up from the bottom, I brought him to the top, and then while he was at the top, he pulled me back up there and kept me up there. So to me, that's what it's about. And a lot of fighters aren't like that, but there are some, and the loyalty, is a big deal for us at the pit. And I love just having a martial arts gym. And if I had a couple fighters here and there on the side and they didn't make any money, I did it as a hobby, that's great. But I'm never going to throw myself into that emotional turmoil of watching my fighters all the time and getting hurt and working the corner and wondering, is this something I told them wrong? And, I get so nervous. So no, I'm loving life right now. My wife is running the gym. It's had a record month. The last 3 months, it's breaking its records, and we're living good on this gym, and we just built a new house. So I'm loving life.
That's great, man. It's good to finally see the evolution of the sport, but then see the evolution of the coach trainer. You wanted out, you finally got out of coaching, or not coaching, but of being in the corner and having to be that vested in that athlete. Now you're able to just start building the next generation, because there's going to be some kids that you're training right now that will leave you, not because they're leaving you because they want to be disloyal, but they're going to leave you because they've hit that level now and they want to fight and they want to be trained. And you're like, look, I just don't want to do it. They'll move someplace else, and you'll see those guys in the UFC and be like, wow, I started that kid when he was 7 years old. They started when he was 7, and now he's speaking in the UFC and he's the champ. And yeah, he left me 4 years ago because he wanted to get to the next level, and I just don't have the energy. But yeah, that's my guy, though. That's my kid.
Well, they'll have pit tattoos, so you'll know. They do. They all have pit tattoos, so you know. But for every one of the guys that does that, and every adult that comes through my program, the bigger deal for me is they're not going to get picked on ever again. Nobody's going to fucking take their lunch money, literally or figuratively, again. And they're never going to be that kid that gets bullied at school. And they're always going to be that person at their job that's going to stand up to the boss and say, well, yeah, you're my boss, but you can't talk to me that way. So, creating a whole group of confident, strong people. And I'm gonna know that if my guy gets jumped, he's walking with his wife and kids, and some thug jumps him, he's gonna be able to kick his ass. So it's a whole thing. I'm gonna have a little of I don't know. You'll know it because you're a martial artist, and when you start teaching and own your own school, which you will someday, you realize how that feels.
I worked 3 different gyms. It's so much work and it's so hard, and it's like there's no until it takes 5 or 6 years to finally feel the benefit of that. We finally see a student that starts with you brand new and gets all the way through to your system, and you're like, wow, now you got it. It's so much work. It's just not. That's why I have so much respect for guys like you that run gyms and maintain them and have run gyms for decades. And I'm just like, how do you do that? How do you get up every day and teach 3 classes in the morning, take a little bit of a break in the afternoon, go back and do it again at night, and the constant battle? It's just, to me, it's so commendable because I just don't have that energy. I just can't do it. It's just too much work. And I can't beat kids anymore with sticks like I used to. Now it's a felony if you hit a kid with a stick in the middle of wrestling practice. Yeah, it is.
I actually spanked a kid really, really severely a few years ago because he was such a naughty kid and he had some issues. And I brought him into my office and I spanked his butt until my hand was red. And he walked out of my office sobbing, and his mom was just standing there just with this look on her face because it was in my office, and she's just in shock. And I was like, she took him and she left, and she called me that night. She goes, well, I want to let you know that Bryce can't sit down today. And I said, well, yeah, well, what's wrong? She goes, do you remember what you did to him? His butt is so red he can't even sit down. I said, well, that'll teach him not to talk back to me. And she goes, well, I think he's learned his lesson. Well, anyway, Bryce kept coming to my class. She was a single mom trying to work her way through nursing school. And he was a handful. I mean, he was on ADH meds and all. I mean, he was a true handful. But that spanking lived with him. He changed that day. And his mom called me years later. He's 19 now. His mom called me like years later, and she goes, I'm just sitting here with Bryce, and I just wanted to thank you for what you did. You made my life so much easier and my job so much easier, because every time Bryce would start with me, I would just say, do you want me to call Kumu John? And Bryce would shape right back up. I saw Bryce at 7-Eleven a couple days ago, and he's the nicest, most respectful young man in the world. So when you get to see the success stories like him and Chuck Liddell and Glover, and it's just But anyway, what else we got going here? Aloha, brother.
We're out of time on this one, but I want to get back with you next week and continue the story, because there's so much more I want to get through with you. We're already over a half an hour right now. It's supposed to be like 20 minutes, so we've hit our limit on this one. But we'll do it again next week and catch back up right here, because I want to get into some more stories of not just training Chuck, but like watching the sport grow and having to change, like how you thought as a coach trainer, as the sport changed, what you had to do as a coach trainer to keep up with that learning curve.
Yeah, it's been a crazy one. But okay, whatever you need, bro. And then we're gonna get you. I'll talk to my guys about Tommy Toehold, right?
Well, I know of him. We've never been introduced. We've never chatted. I do watch those podcasts, but yeah, we've never spoken. We've like on Twitter we've talked back and forth, but nothing other than that. But I definitely know who he is.
I've never met him. I don't even know his name. We've been having our podcast for like a year and 3 months, twice a week. Almost every week is twice a week. Sometimes it's once a week. I don't know his name, and I've never met him.
Perfect. That's welcome to social networking.
He is, because he likes to be. He doesn't want people to know him. That's why he goes on as the cartoon, and nobody knows him. I think Dana knows who he is, and he's met a couple of fighters, but none of us regular people know him. But yeah, whatever. Let's set up a date next week.
You got it, brother. I'll text you here in the next little bit.
And go do Wilhelmina this week.
I'm going to try. I'm not going to promise you. I'm going to try.
All right, brother. I'll talk to you.